Hi everyone, my name's Anna. This is my streaming and gaming channel. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other channels. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about observations and parallels that I find between Terminator, Home Alone, and David Bowie. Then I'm going to conclude it with some of my likes, my dislikes, and things that I would have changed. I wrote everything down. Today, I'm going to be talking about FNAF security breach, and you want to know what makes me extra qualified to talk about this? I've never played FNAF. Security breach. I played FNAF. Imagine if I'd never played FNAF. You want to know why? Because I don't have the computer for it. I don't think I've played anything past the 4th game. So if I'm forgetting something or I'm saying something where it's like, you don't know what you're talking about, that is why. I actually wanted to complete this video in time for the 1-year anniversary of security breach, but it wasn't happening. And I've also thought about a few things that I honestly probably wouldn't have thought of. Also, that's a whole other story. This video was actually supposed to be integrated into one big video on my main channel for the makeup, so be sure to check that out. So just a few disclaimers, because I know typically if anyone makes a video, they're like a FNAF theorist. There's so much energy into research and, you know, whether it's Reddit, playing the game, reading books. This is really something that's just fun, literally off the cuff, literally just my thoughts. Let's just keep it fun. I'm not trying to do anything groundbreaking here, but I just want to say hey, hasn't anyone noticed this too? So first, I'm going to talk about the Terminator franchise. For those of you who don't know, Terminator, the first film came out in 1984. It's about Sarah Connor. She is going to give birth to John Connor, who is the leader of the Resistance. The T-800, who is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, is sent back in time to significantly, fatally harm Sarah Connor. So John isn't born and John doesn't defeat the machines. I should also explain that in the future, Skynet takes over the world, literally makes machines to kill off, harm the human race, so then Skynet can, I guess, confirm taking over the world. But that is a little synopsis of the Terminator series. And I'm also going to explain a little bit more of the plot as I go through. The first thing I noticed was with Freddy. So in all the other games, I'm pretty sure all the animatronics are bad. And then in Security Breach, Freddy is good. Where else have we seen that? In Terminator 2. In Terminator 1, the T-800 is bad. Then in Terminator 2, the T-now 850, also played by Arnold, is now good. So this is where I make the comparison between Security Breach and Terminator. And also because of Gregory. John Connor in Terminator 2 is in his teens, so a little bit older than Gregory, but nonetheless, they are both young boys. Not only in the enemy turned ally, it's also in the relationship between young boy and machine. John Connor starts to feel like a bond with the T-850, and Gregory also kind of builds a bond with Freddy as they're trying to figure out what's going on. I'm guessing that there is a Gen Xer or maybe even a millennial who is maybe unconsciously or maybe directly inspired by Terminator or just in general, because I feel like there are other movies where there's a young boy and there's like a, I guess, non-human entity or non-human character that they establish a bond with. Next thing is Skynet and virus. I want to give credit to FNAF for his research, because I actually have been watching his videos over the past few months, and this is where I was like, So he talks about there's this glitch and people don't know what's going on, and that exactly reminded me of Terminator 3. So I'm gonna insert a clip right here.
We thought it was a communications error, but now it looks like the virus.
We can't trace the virus. We can't pin it down.
They're telling him there's a virus. They need to launch Skynet to fix it. Little do they know. And thank you to FNAF. This is where I'm getting all these screenshots. But Lisa Jameson wrote, "Jimmy, we run into a problem over here, and I'm hoping you can help with it." So the animatronics are responding to all the security codes as promised, but now they're refusing to leave the warehouse. So again, there's some sort of glitch, kind of similar to Terminator 3.
It's like we've ever seen before. It keeps growing and changing, like it has a mind of its own.
The next thing, technical support said to reassure you that there's absolutely no chance that the animatronics are moving on their own.
But your boys are saying that if we plug Skynet into all of our systems, it'll squash this thing like a bug.
If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
And there's always this talk about a malfunction, which I thought was pretty interesting. Again, am I saying that Security Breach is just a ripoff of Terminator? No, but I thought this was pretty interesting. Next thing I wanted to talk about is, in general, the entire FNAF franchise. Timeline after timeline is created, and honestly, that's part of the reason why I kind of like stopped keeping up with FNAF. I will say is kind of just a coincidence. I don't really think that's something intentional. It's not something that Security Breach itself has done, because there are so many games that have changed what has happened, and there's just too many people for anyone to really be like, okay, that's a consistent effort. So that's just something I've noticed. Again, it's not a theory. That is something which Terminator fans, you know very well. Terminator 3 kind of undid. Terminator 2 was kind of wrapped up in a neat bow. Personally, in T2, when they're at Cyberdyne, I'm like, you know, is it possible that there was trace? You know, I get it, Miles Dyson blew up the whole building, but I don't think that's necessarily an assurance that everything was destroyed. So that's a little debate for the Terminator fan community. In general, the similarity here is Terminator 3 was like, okay, John Connor was still living under the radar, and then he finds out, okay, so basically what happened all those years ago didn't really do much because the TX just arrived, the T-850 just arrived, and here we go again with the chase. The next thing with Terminator, the whole idea of these security bots. In Terminator 3, the TX is able to control other machines. You'll see her, you know, use her finger. I shouldn't really say her. It kind of reminds me of the security bots, except they're not really harmful. They just jump scare you and send somebody else. There's that difference. The TX, anything it programs, it's going to harm you. Lastly, this is a little bit of a reach, but in T2, they're working on the T-850. They're, you know, literally like cutting around to get into the skull, the chip CPU. Kind of reminds me of Parts and Service, but yeah, that's kind of a reach. I don't, you know, it's really just like, oh, that's like an ounce of something. So, but I just wanted to mention it. So that's it for Terminator. Now my next comparison is going to be with Home Alone. The whole idea of Gregory being this little boy kind of like on his own kind of reminds me of Kevin. Kevin is setting up traps for the thieves who are obviously up to no good. But I think the idea of a little boy setting up traps, that's where I make the connection. So I was like, this is a little bit of like Terminator mixed in with Home Alone. I'm going to insert a clip right here. You know, this is really, this scene here it's meant to be funny. Essentially at the core, Home Alone, you're luring. You know, at a point it becomes a game to Kevin. It is a means of survival for Gregory, but I just find the whole like lure, entrapment, that just kind of reminds me of Home Alone from Security Breach. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is Freddy's style. I remember thinking immediately, I'm like, oh, the lightning striker reminds me of Lady Gaga, who was inspired by David Bowie. When planning my cosplay makeup video, I constantly just thought about David Bowie. I really thought, okay, the lightning strike on his chest, the colors, I was like, this screams David Bowie. And I realized I'm not the only one. I actually searched this up because I'm like, there's no way that I'm the only one that thought about it. And I was right. There's been posts and also Tumblr threads about this. In particular, even crossover art has been made. So definitely go check that out. In this post directly, I didn't even make this connection, but people are actually thinking that glam rock Freddy sounds like David Bowie. Each of the animatronics seem to emulate a literal like rock star or figure in rock music. So I thought that was really interesting. So the next segment, I'm going to be talking about what I like about the game, what I don't like about the game, and things that I would do differently if I was in charge somehow. So what do I like about the game? Me not playing it at all, but saying I like something about the game. First things first, I love the graphics. Keep in mind, the last time I played FNAF was on my phone. The graphics, I wasn't expecting like super ultra 4K, and the fact that it's like this 80 gig game on your computer, I was like, whoa, I was like blown away. This is kind of gonna tie in with a dislike, but I like the idea of moving. So in the original game, you're stuck in your chair, you're able to swivel from door to door. I actually like the idea of moving around. I really think it opens up a lot of potential and a lot of flexibility, especially with storytelling. Like, this is a complaint amongst people within the community that they didn't like roaming around, and the whole charm and the whole core of the game was that you were stuck. But I do think people would have also complained if that was the case with Security Breach, because then the game, you know, it didn't evolve, it's not taking risk. So I personally like that. The next thing, I do like the large map. Again, it kind of ties in with the graphics. I was like, whoa, you know, I thought, okay, maybe the promotional poster looks nice, maybe the trailer looks nice, but I'm like, this game probably isn't gonna like look that great, and the game like looks exactly like the trailer. I really like the large map roaming, and I think it also adds length to the game, so you don't just finish the game in like a couple hours. The next thing I will say is the boss fights. I like the idea of kind of having like these little quests. Usually, you know, in the original games, you're just making it to 6 a.m. Here, it's basically one night, so there's no like just waiting it out. You constantly have to be doing something. Now let's get into what I dislike. The first thing was the unrealisticness. I don't know, the whole idea, like, if I was Gregory, I don't care if you're shut down, I'm not going near that machine. The next thing is the map. While I love that there is a large map, I also think you could have cut that map by 50%, because I'm just like, what in the square acres is going on? I'm like, why is this bigger than Delaware? I'm pretty good with directions. I feel like I would get lost like just playing the game where you're like, oh, just go to like Gator Golf. Where am I supposed to go? Like, I need signs everywhere. I'm like, how much is the rent? Like, ain't no way. How much is the taxes if they own that? Ain't no way. Cut 50% of the map, because that's a lot less animating you had to do. And then at the end, they could have animated the ending, because I was like, you're gonna give me all these graphics, all these aesthetic, all these visuals, but the rest is gonna be a comic. You know, I'm grateful. Literally never played the game, and I'm like the biggest critic. I don't mean that in any way, but I was just like, dang, like I really would have loved to see that. You know, Steel will don't look at this and be like, oh, she's such a hater. Like, I'm not. So one thing I also dislike is the continuity of this game. I'm not gonna talk about any of the glitches, the whole idea of just Gregory, like the animatronic is apparently crushed and then is like back, seemingly no explanation. I don't really understand the security bots being everywhere and they just jump scare and alert you. Like, couldn't they just capture you? Like, I don't know how it works. Again, this is a kid's play, so maybe like while they're open, they're like programmed to like alert someone, so that makes sense. If everyone, like, if Freddy is the only one that's like normally programmed and the other animatronics are to jump scare you, like, why not the security bots? But in terms of the franchise, I don't really like how everything is like kind of like Terminator. Like, there's like a whole new timeline. It contradicts what happened previously. So that's just something I dislike, but it doesn't really have to do solely with Security Breach. The last thing, and I'm going to get into what I would have done differently with this one, is who is Gregory? Why is he there? Again, if this information is out, I simply don't know about it. But when I was first thinking about this game, I'm like, okay, I haven't heard about Gregory. I liked in the games, there was a reason why you were there. So in the night, why are you there at night? You're a security guard. This is a new job. Okay, that makes sense. Here, like, you have no explanation as to how Gregory got in. Obviously, there is lore explaining how Gregory is left to fend for himself, but again, what I dislike is there's no explanation up front in the game, at least from what I know. You know, this is something that's found out later, but I think just a little context, you know, like in Home Alone, it's known that, you know, the whole family somehow left him behind. So next thing I'm gonna get into is what I would have done differently. The first thing, I'm sure Gregory's a great character, but I actually would have done this in the POV or point of view of Vanessa. I would have had Vanessa as the character that the player is playing as. Here is my plot for why. You're Vanessa. Going back to those screenshots of Vanessa being investigated and she's searching strange things while on the clock. I thought this would be an excellent opportunity for Vanessa to be like a legitimate security guard, and then Vanny or whoever to be this person framing her. I don't really feel that has to be explained as to how they are managing to get Vanessa's credentials. The point is she is being framed. This is like her last night or her last week to find out how she's being framed, and you know, she's about to be fired. So there's that time is of the essence. She is trying to save her job. I feel that Vanessa going around trying to figure out what's going on. There's malfunction. Someone is posing as me. I really feel that would have been a great opportunity to kind of put a spin on the original security guard character. Again, I thought Steelwool did a fantastic job on this game, even though I never played it. Again, I can't wait to actually experience this for myself, but from watching others play, those are the things that I think would have enhanced the game. So this is it for today's video. Thank you so much for sticking around. Again, comment below what you think about any of my observation, my comments, my theories. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment your thoughts and let me know what I should do next. Bye. You should really watch this video and you should subscribe.